Back inside the Georgia Dome, ready for Duke and Carolina. Let's take a look at the Haviland starting lineups. Let's go cross court to Larry Dunleavy.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Atlanta and the Georgia Dome for the 2001 Atlantic Coast Conference Men's Basketball Championship. Today's championship game features the Blue Devils of Duke University versus the University of North Carolina Tar Heels. And now for today's starting lineups. For the Blue Devils of Duke, at forward, a 6'8" senior from Birmingham, Michigan, number 31, Shane Battier. At forward, a 6'8" sophomore from Lake Oswego, Oregon, number 34, Mike Dunleavy. The Blue Devils center, a 6'11" sophomore from Tampa, Florida, number 20, Casey Sanders. At guard, a 6'1" freshman from Slidell, Louisiana, number 21, Chris Duhan. At guard, a 6'2" sophomore from Plainfield, New Jersey, number 22, Jason Williams. The head coach for Duke is Mike Krzyzewski, who's in his 21st year with the Blue Devils. Now for the Tar Heels of North Carolina. At forward, a 6'8" junior from Fayetteville, North Carolina, number 25, Jason Capel. At forward, a 6'11" junior from Gastonia, North Carolina, number 42, Chris Lang. The Tar Heels center, a 7-foot senior from Greensboro, North Carolina, number 00, Brendan Haywood. At guard, a 6'2" sophomore from Hampton, Virginia, number 22, Ronald Corey. And at guard, a 6'4" sophomore from Greenbelt, Maryland, number 40, Joseph Forte. Matt Doherty's in his first year as head coach of the Tar Heels.
North Carolina 25-5. Duke is 28-4. Right now, let's take you cross court to Gil McGregor. Gil?
Thanks a lot. You know, the irony, the biggest basketball game of the season in the ACC may be determined by football players. Julius Peppers, Bailey, North Carolina, Southern Nash, important for Carolina. And Reggie Love out of Providence Day, Charlotte, North Carolina, really important for Duke. So isn't that interesting? It's basketball, but the football players are having an impact.
Love those football players. Hey, Gil sounds like he's playing hurt today.
It does sound like he's playing hurt today.
The officials today, Mike Wood, Larry Rose, Carl Hess, and the alternate Duke Etzel at the scorer's table. More than 40,000 at the Georgia Dome today. Record crowds for this ACC tournament, the 48th annual ACC Championship game. You see the tournament history. North Carolina leads 6-3 in the title games. UNC leads 3-1 as the #1 seed. Duke 0-3 as the #2 seed, and the Blue Devils are just that today. With the win goes the #1 seed in the East region when it's announced later today. Tournament titles, North Carolina has won 15, Duke has won 11. Look at these numbers.
Tim, when we're talking about tempo, the turnovers by North Carolina, the steals by Duke, those are the kinds of things that really get the game going at the fast pace that Duke wants. And of course, Duke has really hurt themselves at the free throw line. And in a game we expect to be extremely close and competitive, you're going to have to take advantage of all opportunities, including the free ones.
Mike Wood will toss it up. We're underway, and Duke will have it first.
North Carolina starts in the man-to-man. Chris Lang on a sort of a bum ankle trying to match up against Shane Battier.
Williams' shot is short. Carolina gets it. Here comes Curry. You mentioned Lang's ankle. Curry playing with a bad wrist. Inside they go to Lang with that jump hook. Both of these teams have to be exhausted the third day of this tournament, and both were extended yesterday in the semifinal. Dunleavy for 3. Halfway down, came back out.
Tim, obviously that's going to be a factor, but it's one of those things where each team, they're affected equal.
Lang puts Carolina on the board.
And that's interesting. The first 2 possessions, North Carolina punches it inside, trying to attack Shane Battier with Chris Lang.
Lang is 6'11", Haywood 7 feet. They're going to try to go to the big guys all afternoon.
Haywood really playing off on the inside, not guarding Sanders out at the top at all.
Running one-hander by Dunleavy.
And Duke, it's been their habit in both of the games they've played in this tournament. They started a little bit slower on offense.
Lang's getting some good looks over Battier.
North Carolina's taking 3 shots. Lang's taking them all. And the man for North Carolina.
Keep in mind, it took a while yesterday for Duke to warm up against Maryland. They were down 10-0 with the Terps. Battier is fouled.
And immediately you can see part of the North Carolina strategy. Brendan Haywood really not paying much attention to Casey Sanders at all, particularly when Sanders is out at the free throw line. Haywood laying off and playing for the drive to the basket.
That's the first personal on Lang. And the Tar Heels have to stay out of foul trouble. These are the numbers for the tournament. That's his tournament average. He's 79% free throw shooter for the year. And makes the first.
The scary thing about those numbers, if you're a North Carolina partisan, is that Shane Battier has not been very effective from beyond the three-point arc in this tournament, and you just expect him to explode sometime very soon.
Battier, who had 20 points yesterday against Maryland, hits them both, and we're tied at 2.
Battier had 20 yesterday, even though he was only 3 of 13 from beyond the arc. Now Haywood battling against Sanders.
Haywood with a power move. Gets his own rebound, puts it back, blocked by Sanders. Jump ball, possession arrow belongs to the Tar Heels. Great block by Sanders. They said it was clean.
And Mike Krzyzewski is talking about the shot clock. Here the ball goes off. Haywood gets it now. He's got great help to Sanders down inside. Dunleavy is right there. Battier is right there. But Sanders, a very effective block. And Sanders had 4 fouls yesterday, but that's okay. Mike Krzyzewski just needs him in there playing hard and fighting every step of the way.
Haywood's shots were the first from anybody besides Lang. Haywood tied up, absolutely. Here's Lang again, and he banks it in.
You see, Lang didn't want him to get in the habit of somebody else shooting the ball, so they get it inside to him, and he scores effectively again on the inside.
As you mentioned, Lang hurt that right ankle yesterday, but he's running well now. Carolina by 2. And Battier's fouled by Lang. That's his second.
And that's a very difficult defensive matchup for Chris Lang, because Shane Battier has the capability of taking him outside and driving the ball to the basket. Now here's Lang, just gets a step out toward half court. Battier sees it, goes to the baseline, and is fouled by Chris Lang. Lang simply not quick enough to stay with Battier out on the perimeter.
Matt Doherty's not going to wait long. He's got Max Owens ready to come in and replace him.
Well, Owens will come in, and what that will mean is that'll move Jason Capel to the power forward spot. And so it'll be Jason Capel matched up against Battier on the defensive end.
Max Owens has really been aggressive in this tournament. 10 points both games, double figures. He plays well in Atlanta. Had 17 against Georgia Tech here in January. He's from Macon, Georgia. It's like a home game for him. Duke has been very erratic with their free throw shooting.
Showed you that graphic about what they did in 2 games against North Carolina during the regular season. And there's Owens getting the tip, and that allows Haywood.
Haywood fouled.
But look at that lineup that Duke has in the game right at the moment. Battier by far the tallest player. And Haywood really does a nice job hustling after this. Max Owens, nobody blocks out Owens. You're talking about Haywood, the big guy, but nobody gets Owens, and that allows Haywood to get the ball against Reggie Love. Love battling to keep him away.
Foul was on Duhan, his first, as you look at the numbers for Brendan Haywood in this tournament.
Duke yesterday was out-rebounded by Maryland, 51-30. The Terrapins simply dominated the boards. Haywood misses that by, except Duke was able, of those 30 rebounds that they got, 15 were offensive rebounds, and that really created some more possessions for them.
Haywood, a 51% free throw shooter, comes up empty. It's still 4-2. Jason Williams' shot is short. Carolina fans up on their feet, wanted a call, was none. This will be...
Thus far, Ronald Curry's done a real nice job staying close to Jason Williams out on the perimeter, making that perimeter jump shot a tough one.
Nate James will bring it in.
Talking about those rebounding numbers there, you see what they are today. And as long as the Duke center, whether it be Love or Sanders or Christensen, whoever's in there, as long as they don't make themselves a threat offensively, Brendan Haywood is going to be able to play off, sort of play in the middle. It's going to make it difficult for Duke to drive the ball to the basket.
Here's Battier, has to pull up with Haywood there.
And that's exactly what we're talking about.
Penetration by Williams, no foul call. Here's Love, takes it back up. Love again, has it blocked by Haywood. Battier for three, yes!
You don't have to be tall to be an offensive rebounder. You just have to be aggressive enough to go get the ball, and Reggie Love got two of them.
Haywood made it look easy.
Now, sometimes you have to be tall if you're going to defend a 7-foot guy. Nice inside play by North Carolina.
Two teams beat the Blue Devils this year from outside and with quickness. That was Virginia and Clemson. But Maryland and Stanford went big inside to beat Duke. Battier with the turnaround.
31, Shane Battier.
It's very important that Ronald Curry be able to handle the ball without turning it over so that North Carolina can get the ball inside. Their Love is called for the foul against Haywood.
We're going to see that problem all day.
Well, one of the interesting things that you see here is this is the third game in 3 days for the Duke Blue Devils, and you haven't seen them coming out and with the aggressive press and double teams that you saw in the second time that these two teams met down in Chapel Hill, and Mike Krzyzewski certainly knows that that was a very effective technique, but you have to be a little bit more careful with that in a situation like this as Haywood scores again.
The big guys have all the points, Lang and Haywood. It's a 1-point Tar Heel lead. Knocked out by Forte. 15:57 to play first half. Battier with 7 points. The big guys for Carolina.
We talked before the ball game about Shane Battier and all the things that he's expected to provide for the Duke Blue Devils. Well, he hadn't really been hot from three-point range in the tournament, but he drills that one there with Brendan Haywood flying right at him. And here against Jason Capel, the fadeaway jump shot. Shane Battier really, I mean, what a complete basketball player.
Well, Battier has all 7 points for Duke. The two big guys, Haywood and Lang, have all 8 for Carolina.
Tim, in that last regular season game where Duke beat the Tar Heels in Chapel Hill, Duke stole the ball 11 times. North Carolina, 20-plus turnovers. And that's not the kind of game it's been. Right at the moment, North Carolina's been getting the ball to the big guys on the block. That's what I mean by power points. You know, points in the paint, sometimes you can get those in the layup off of a fast break, but we're talking about points where you get the ball down to the big guys and they power it inside. And North Carolina's really been able to create that kind of a tempo early. Haven't turned the ball over, and that's helped.
Forte with a rebound.
That's really the first time Forte has touched the ball.
Ball slipped out of his hands. He still got it to Capel. Capel working against Battier. Knocked out of bounds by Duke.
Tim, you take that much time to get yourself to the basket, and the defenders are going to be all over you. Generally, the rule is each dribble allows an extra defender a step to get there. Casey Sanders blocked that one out of bounds. Oh, nice tip away.
Jason Williams surveys the court, goes to Battier, they slow it up. Here's Battier, has it taken out of his hands. Capel can't save it. Good defense by Carolina. Good defense at both ends by Duke and Carolina.
Interesting thing is it's half-court defense, and I think the longer the game stays in a half-court kind of situation, the more advantage goes to North Carolina.
Here's the steal by Curry. Carolina 10-7.
That's the kind of basket that Duke really wants to have to create an up-tempo game, but North Carolina comes up with the first steal, an easy basket.
Here's Dunleavy with good penetration. He makes the bucket. He'll go to the line. Not unusual, though, Dan, in tournament time to see that half-court game. You're going to see more of it in the NCAAs.
I don't think there's any question about it. And Matt Doherty's squad, with the big guys inside, pretty well equipped to handle it. But that time, nobody equipped to handle Dunleavy. Again, very aggressively gets to the baseline. And it really is a different game in there without Brendan Haywood. Duke able to have much more confidence with driving the ball all the way to the basket.
Mike Dunleavy converts the three-point play. We're tied at 10. Boy, they jumped out on Capel very quickly. They saw him go 6 for 6 in the quarterfinal game beyond the arc. Here's Lang. Yes.
And that's a better move. He didn't dribble the ball a couple of times. He catches it, goes right to the basket, so Duke not able to come and bring the defensive help. Man-to-man for the Tar Heels.
Mike Krzyzewski's going to try to get a bigger body in the game now. Matt Christensen will check in. He's at the scorer's table.
Boy, nice job by Curry.
Nice entry pass into James. The foul's on Forte.
That's pretty effective use that time of Casey Sanders by the Blue Devils. He's not really been involved in the offense, but when he comes out high to set a screen, Lang has to come out with him, and that opens the middle for that attempted pass on the inside.
Sanders goes out. Jason Williams will get his first breather. Duhan comes in, and Christensen comes in, who's a bigger body.
Well, you notice as Jason Williams goes out, that also allows Battier to give Ronald Curry his first rest. Morrison comes in the game for Curry.
Here's Dunleavy. Gets his own rebound, kicks it out to Battier. This is beyond the arc. Forte with a rebound. Oh, nice pass to Owens. And taken away by Christensen.
Very good defense inside by Duke.
Christensen, this is the layup. Forte with a short jumper.
Well, he never had control of that ball, Tim.
And you know, he has not had his jumper hitting in this tournament, any of the 3 games. Ahead to Christensen.
Well, that's not a good decision by Duhan. If you're going to throw a lob pass, Duhan now picks up the foul. The guy you're going to throw the lob pass to is not Christensen.
Dan, you have to believe that this being the 3rd game in 3 days for these teams, first thing to go is your legs, obviously, in your jump shot. Nobody really hitting big right now.
I think as Curry comes back in and Haywood comes back in, Tim, I don't want us to overplay that aspect of this. These guys are young. They are in great physical condition. Each coach has used his bench very effectively in the tournament. They've got lots of TV timeouts to deal with. This is just a big game, and lots of times in big games that there's a little bit of tension and extra nervous energy out there, and I think that has more to do with those field goal numbers you just saw than the fact that it's the 3rd game in 3 days.
Possession arrow belongs to Duke, so the Blue Devils will bring it in. 13:25 to play in the first half. It's North Carolina 12, Duke 10.
Just taking a little while to feel one another out here.
Dunleavy with a turnaround.
And with the way North Carolina's trying to guard Duke today, Dunleavy is the guy they may have a difficult time defending. Really doing a nice job against Jason Williams, who of course is out of the game now.
We've got our 3rd tie of the ball game. We're at 12. Morrison with good penetration, but Battier sends it back to him. Here comes Dunleavy. Kicks it out to James. James has yet to take a shot.
That's good transition defense by North Carolina.
Duhan loses the handle, gets it back.
The give and go, but when he went, he found Brendan Haywood standing right there, and he decides to back it out.
Boy, has Duhan developed. Mr. Basketball in the state of Louisiana. Here's Dunleavy's jumper. Boy, he's hot.
He's the guy who presents them the biggest matchup problem. They can match up against Shane Battier. They can match up against Jason Williams, but they're having a hard time figuring out what to do with Michael Dunleavy, who now has 7 points.
He's hit 3 jumpers, and he's 1 for 1 at the line.
And Curry goes out of the game.
So Duke takes a 2-point lead.
It looks like Curry has something wrong with his knee. Wait, that's a huge factor, because now you're going to ask Morrison to try to go head-to-head with Jason Williams, at least for a few minutes.
Tell you what, he looks like he's in pain, too. Forte gets it back, steps on the line. It'll belong to Duke.
Tim, that's what you're talking about. They're working on Curry right at the moment, just trying to figure out what's wrong. You heard him say that maybe twisted it.
Yeah. This is for 2.
Now, do you think that's a coincidence that Jason Williams gets his first good look at the basket with Curry on the bench?
Forte kicks it out. Owens. Oh, my! Capel with the putback. Williams has his shot blocked. There's a foul.
And that foul is going to be against Morrison. Matt Doherty not happy with that call, but I'll tell you what, when Jason Williams drives to the basket, you have to be confident enough to rely on Brendan Haywood to block the ball and not commit the foul down low. Now here's an example of just not blocking out. Jason Capel just follows the ball, nobody gets him, and he dunks it home, and the North Carolina bench, they got some good hops down there in the end.
Well, Williams almost threw up an air ball, just barely got to the rim. He's a 66% free throw shooter.
Showed you that number before the game, that Duke only 54% shooting free throws during the regular season against North Carolina, only 3 of 6 today.
After the Maryland game yesterday, Mike Krzyzewski was saying he doesn't know. That's just, they've been very erratic. Sometimes they're red hot from the line, and sometimes they're cold. Well, here's James with a 3.
15 feet is just too close. They need to throw it back out and take the 3.
Duke with his largest lead, making a run. Here comes Williams, taken away by Capel. Taken back by Williams. Christensen and the foul.
Now I'm telling you what,
Morrison.
There's some battling going on right here. Jason Capel, or Jason Williams, you don't often see him make a poor decision in transition, but Capel really outfoxed him. Capel gets his hand on the basketball. Battier tips it. Williams gets it back. There's Capel again. Almost gets the block shot. The tip doesn't go, but Christensen keeps fighting. And Christensen, I thought he had about as good a 3 minutes as you can have in a key game. Came in yesterday, scored 3 points. Although it's an adventure from the free throw line for Christensen.
But that's where he got his points yesterday. 43% free throw shooter. He looked like he was just ice on that line yesterday. Ronald Curry comes back into the game for Morrison, so the knee must be okay. Matt Christensen, 6'10", 250-pound junior. Served a 2-year mission in Germany. Dad played at BYU. And Haywood with the rebound.
Well, Duke has hurt themselves from the free throw. 3 of 9 in the early game. Now Christensen picks up that foul. Christensen's probably the one guy that Duke has who's the most capable of pushing Haywood away from the basket.
Duke leads by 5.
Duke with the 5-point lead. We talked about Michael Dunleavy. Now watch Dunleavy here. He's going to set a screen, and then he's going to step back in the lane right here. And Brian Morrison, who's trying to guard him, is going to come out and help with the screen, and he's not going to get back in time. Lots of times the guy who's going to be open is the screener. Dunleavy sets the screen, steps back in. Morrison tries to help out against Battier, is not back in time to help out against Dunleavy. And keep in mind, Dunleavy at about 6'8" has a 5-6-inch height advantage on Morrison. That's a very difficult matchup for North Carolina.
Dunleavy with 7 points right now. Battier scored the first 7 points of the game for Duke. Dunleavy has really come to life. On the other side, Carolina, Lang has 6 and Haywood has 4. Forte has yet to score.
The interesting thing about this game to me is that it has been, with the exception of one Carolina steal in the basket and one Duke steal where Carolina actually prevented them from getting the basket, it has been almost totally a half-court game, and that's the kind of game where you think there's no way Duke can compete in that game, and yet they're winning the game. There's more to these Duke Blue Devils than you think.
11 minutes to play in the first half.
All right, and here Reggie Love back in the game. Mike Krzyzewski keeps rotating that 3-headed monster at center.
Forte's on the board now with 3.
You're going to have to find him. He'll go through stretches where he may not touch the ball much and not score much, but once he gets going, he is awfully difficult to defend.
Duke by 2. James.
Well, he threw that up there because he sees Brendan Haywood.
Oh, great get back by James, who was trailing Forte all the way down, and they got in a passing lane. Check in with the Budweiser scoreboard to see what's happening today. You see Kentucky leading Ole Miss 14-12 early, and then later today, the number 16 and number 20 teams. And of course, the Big Ten out in Chicago.
Now, who in the world would have thought that that Big Ten championship game would be between Indiana and Iowa?
Isn't that the truth?
Nice job by Love to keep Haywood out of the lane and force that jump hook.
Penetration by Williams. Has it blocked by Haywood. He gets it back.
That's not going to be available. You're not going to be able to take the ball all the way against Brendan Haywood.
Foul on Forte.
And that's a second foul.
North Carolina foul number 40.
Part of the problem that you have. Here's Jason Williams. Now look, there's Brendan Haywood just standing in the middle waiting for him. Once you draw Brendan Haywood, you've got to put yourself in a position where you can stop and pass the ball to an open man. That's the mistake that Virginia made against Georgia Tech in the quarterfinal game. They just kept taking the ball all the way to Alvin Jones, and you're not going to be successful.
Battier with that great rotation. Makes the first. The senior co-captain has 124 wins in his career at Duke. Incredible.
Keep in mind, he hadn't won all them by himself. He's been on some pretty good teams.
But to be a part of that has to be the most incredible experience. That's a guy that interned on Wall Street. Forte with the penetration, slapped away by Williams. Ball's still loose and it belongs to Duke. 7 turnovers for North Carolina.
That was a part of the problem for North Carolina in the last game. Now, Joseph Forte, if you're going to drive on the Duke Blue Devils, they may not have the big shot blocker, but they've got a lot of guys coming after the ball. You just have to be stronger with the ball than that. Jason Williams knocks it away. Dunleavy back in the game.
Williams can't finish.
Again, Williams is thinking about the presence of Haywood, who plays off Reggie Love and keeps himself available inside to disrupt things.
Boy, Haywood was right there. The ball went through his hands. Here comes Williams. Dunleavy. Yes.
Nice job by Dunleavy to get his feet set. So many times in transition, you see guys get excited and float, but Dunleavy got himself stopped. Made the basket. Duke now with their largest lead.
Duke by 6. Forte for 3.
Make it 3. I think we're just going to have a marvelous game today. I think we're going to see each team with little runs, but I can't imagine anybody's going to run away and hide in this one.
Battier from beyond the arc, yes. Well, Mike Krzyzewski made the point. He says, I don't know if my kids will have their legs tomorrow. Speaking about this game after the semifinal, he said, I know they'll have their hearts, and the same belongs to Carolina. Owens from beyond the arc.
And we're going to see a lot of three-pointers fired up in this game. Duke with 6 so far, as you just saw.
Wow, James for 3 more.
Now Duke goes on these spurts. They did this right at the start of the second half against Maryland yesterday. And when it starts raining threes, you feel like you're being pummeled. Matt Doherty calls the timeout.
They're on their feet at the Georgia Dome. 8:17 to play, first half.
When Duke and North Carolina get together, you expect fireworks, you expect entertainment, you expect threes. The Duke Blue Devils, Shane Battier nails one. At the start of the second half against Maryland yesterday, they scored 5 threes in succession. This time, Nate James buries one after the great pass from Michael Dunleavy. They've got 2 in a row now. Duke 4-7 overall. Matt Doherty saw enough right there, Tim, that he wanted to try to stop that right away, called the timeout.
How about last weekend at the Dean Dome? Duke took 38 threes. Wow.
And Tim, that's a lot, but the first time they played North Carolina, when they lost in Durham, they took 35. And the interesting thing here is Jason Williams, Joseph Forte, Williams with only 2 points, which makes this Duke lead all the more impressive. Keep in mind, however, they were 12 for 35 in Durham. They were 14 for 38 in Chapel Hill. Not much really of a difference there. The difference was in the 2-point game. In Durham, Duke only 17 of 38 from 2-point range, but in Chapel Hill, 21 of 34. So it really wasn't to play outside the arc, it was to play inside. And now here's the trap.
And here's the steal by Williams.
Ronald Curry did not handle that trap very well in Chapel Hill. You haven't seen that at all from Duke. An excellent move coming out of the timeout, hitting him with that trap.
Duke by 11. Lang. He's fouled.
You cannot pick up your dribble against the trap. We've seen Duke trap twice now. The first time Curry picked up his dribble, tried to make the cross-court pass. It was intercepted, and Duke got a basket. That time, Duke tried the trap. Ronald Curry dribbled right around, and as a result, gets an easy opportunity for Chris Lang.
So Lang goes to the line. Makes the first.
Good start for Lang. He's got 7 now.
This is the second, though. So Duke's going to try to add to its 10-point lead.
Last 3 possessions, the way Duke wants to play. 3-pointers and easy baskets after a turnover.
Here's Peppers working against Battier.
Boy, that's a nice job by Peppers to cut Battier off on the baseline, force that jump shot.
He won't be afraid to body him up. Here's Peppers. Has it partially blocked. Williams comes down with it.
Nice play by Sanders.
Look at Williams survey the court and pull up for the 3. Across to Capel. Peppers wanted the lead.
I don't think that's the kind of shot that North Carolina can shoot. You get the layup off the break, fine. I don't know that you want to take the 3.
Williams!
That's why, because if you miss it, you allow Duke to really play the up and down tempo that they want to play.
Peppers was in front of the break and wanted the pass. Didn't get it. Now he mishandles this pass and Williams gets it again.
Here we go.
Duke starting to run away with it. Here's Duhon. 35-21 Duke.
We talked about the tempo, and right now the tempo is exactly where the Duke Blue Devils want it, up and down.
Forte gets his rebound, takes it back. That's for 2, and it won't go. Ahead to Sanders. And he's fouled.
What an explosion by the Duke Blue Devils. And suddenly the game that was nothing but a half-court kind of tempo suddenly becomes up and down, and that's the way the Duke Blue Devils want it. Sanders already has a blocked shot today. Does a great job catching that one. Anytime he can score, I think that's just gravy for the Duke Blue Devils.
After 4 ties, going back and forth, Duke has exploded to a 16-point lead. They had a 14-point lead in the second half yesterday against Maryland.
Keep in mind, though, that Maryland came all the way back. Plenty of time remaining in the game. North Carolina does not need to get in, fall into the trap of playing the quick up-tempo style. They need to go to their strengths, but right now they're not having any luck at all.
10 turnovers has really set the table for Duke. 6:09 to play in the first half. It's 37-21 Duke, and I mean the Blue Devils have just exploded. Haywood got them off to a quick start, but now it's all Duke.
The Duke Blue Devils on quite a run. Watch Ronald Curry. He can take the ball, turn his back to the play, try to make a cross-court pass. Duhon picks it off, and away he goes for the dunk. Then Duke, after another steal, they're taking the ball in transition. Very little defense for that, as Jason Williams is able to score effectively after struggling. Now Williams steals the ball down to Duhon. Duke on a 14-1 run. Matt Doherty not very happy with it. You know, there are turnovers and then there are turnovers. North Carolina has 10 turnovers, but in those 10 turnovers, Duke has 8 steals, and those 8 steals lead directly to baskets.
Dan, take a look at our Jeep game summary. It looks like this. The turnover is a major factor.
Well, again, 10 of those turnovers, of those 10, 8 are steals. And when you steal the ball, that allows you to get out in transition, which is why Duke has the 13-2 transition margin. And most of those 13 here in the last 2 minutes. Boy, Duke has just exploded.
Under 6 minutes to play in the first half.
North Carolina in his zone.
That shot is short by James.
See, there's a lot of people who think you can't play zone against a team who can shoot, but that's a fallacy. You play zone against a team who's great in transition. Sometimes you make them stop and settle down and move the ball slowly, and you just disrupt their game.
Carolina really unsure of its passing right now.
There's a reason for that. The guys in the black shirts are all over it.
Inside they go to Lang. Lang with a little drop step, comes up short on his shot. Capel gets it.
Never hit the rim, so the shot clock did not reset.
It's down to 5. Here's Lang. He loses out of bounds with 3 on the shot clock.
Boy, how active can you be on the defensive end?
Duhan tried to get a timeout. He stepped out of bounds first.
Well, he didn't need the timeout because there's only 3 seconds left on the shot clock. That was a good one that he didn't get. Now, I think Carl Hess is asking Larry Rose if the ball ever hit the rim.
They reset the shot clock.
Now, they reset the shot clock because they decided that Chris Duhan had possession.
Sure.
So possession change.
So it did make a difference, and he didn't get the timeout. Stepped on the line. Here's Forte. That's the 2. Can't go down.
A good block out like that.
Williams beyond the arc.
Now, see, that's not a bad shot because Duke wants the game at that tempo.
Here's Haywood way up at the top of the key. Capel. He'll fire from beyond the arc. Boy, they just can't buy a basket.
Miss those long 3-pointers. Gives the opposition a chance to get out running.
Battier from way outside comes up short. Man, was he out there. This is for 3. Yes!
Just had to move in 6 feet.
31, Battier.
Battier's laughing about that.
He is.
He knows how far away he was the first time.
And Battier takes it away. Here's Williams. They're starting to run away with it, folks.
They've doubled the score.
42-21. Duke.
What an amazing explosion by the Duke Blue Devils. Wow. Well, so much for Duke not having their legs.
I think this crowd is shocked.
Well, I know I'm shocked. Shane Battier, the long 3-point basket, and it's so long and the rebound is so hard that it goes right to Reggie Love, who kicks it right back out. Battier gets 6 feet closer and drills it. And it's not just offense that's part of Shane Battier's game. He just takes that right out of the hands of Adam Boone, and off they go to the races. Williams making a great decision in transition there to take the ball all the way to the basket.
And certainly it's defense that has sparked this explosion by Duke. They started trapping, extend the defense, added some pressure, and Carolina, quite frankly, has not handled it well. Budweiser scoreboard shows Kentucky up on Ole Miss. Still in the first half of that one. Coming up later today, Texas and Oklahoma. And a Big Ten out in Chicago.
I think it's very interesting, you know, that Kentucky team. How can a team that has had such a great record and be such a good team this year have all the criticism that Kentucky's had? But it took them a long time to get into the top 25 this year, but they seem to be back with a vengeance right now and expect Kentucky to have a pretty high seed in the NCAA tournament. And Duke, they had a 19-2 run against Maryland yesterday, following up with a 19-1 run here against North Carolina.
Carolina's gotten away from what they were doing early, trying to bang it in the middle. Outside of Forte, and he's fouled by Dunleavy.
Tim, Carolina may have gotten away from what they were doing early, but I think an awful lot of the credit for that has to go to the Duke defense. Duke has really done a nice job being aggressive on the basketball. And we saw this from Duke in the semifinal game against Maryland yesterday. In that game, the Duke defense forced 20 turnovers. And another problem, Forte now starting to put some points up on the board, 7 points.
Mike Woods and Krzyzewski have really been going after each other a little bit here, having a conversation during this. You'd never know. Mike Krzyzewski was up by 20. Under 4 minutes to play in the first half. We'll return after these messages from the ACC. You know, some big stars have taken center stage between these two teams in the tournament championship. Larry Miller had 32 points in the win over the Blue Devils in 1967. 2 years later, the Tar Heels won their third straight title behind Charlie Scott's 40 points. And was he ever sweet? 1988, Danny Ferry was the main man for the Devils' win. The following year, it was the Heels' J.R. Reed's turn to shine as Carolina won that one by 3. Now the two teams met again 2 years later. Rick Fox was named MVP of the tournament. 1 year later, the trophy returned to Durham because of the play of Christian Laettner, who also had a strong NCAA tournament. 1998, Antoine Jameson led the Heels to victory as Bill Guthridge won a title in his first year as coach, the 15th overall at the school. Then in 99, sophomore Elton Brand scored 24 points. The Blue Devils won their 10th title. Folks, there is some history to this rivalry between Duke and Carolina.
One of the things that you noticed right at the end of that little archive piece was the fact that Brendan Haywood was in that 99 title game, and it's hard to believe with the success that this North Carolina team has had that this guy is the only guy for the Tar Heels on this current team who's ever played in an ACC Championship game. And Haywood, we thought that he had to be a big guy, and thus far only 4 points on 2 of 6 shooting. He's got 6 rebounds, but the rebounds don't count on that scoreboard.
Carolina needs to make some stops and get a little run before half.
They're now in a zone. They've got to find some way to slow down this Duke machine right at the moment.
James will fire from beyond the arc. There's a stop. Now Carolina's got to score some points. Forte, tough shot.
Oh, that's really force right there. Again, you've got plenty of time left in the game. You don't need to take a shot like that, sort of 1-on-5 in transition. You can get better shots, and you can also attack the Duke Blue Devils. Try to see if you can get Shane Battier isolated on the inside. Maybe get him in foul trouble.
Williams will fire from way outside.
And now the zone has resulted in 2 consecutive perimeter shots for Duke that haven't gone down. So North Carolina creating a situation where they might be able to get back in, and there, Forte, a nice on-balance shot.
So Mike Krzyzewski recognizes the change. He's going to make an adjustment with 2:55 to play in the half. 42-25 Duke. Hey fans, score more miles with the Dividend Miles Visa card issued by Bank of America. It's your ticket to fly on U.S. Airways to ACC campuses and other destinations around the world. Apply today. Visit bankofamerica.com/US Airways.
Talked about the Duke defense. They have been outstanding, and that's been the key to this game. You can see they've held North Carolina only 30%, forced 11 turnovers. But again, I'll emphasize 9 steals, and what a steal means, you can almost always equate a steal to a basket. If you steal the ball, the other guys are going to be chasing you down the court. You don't score all the time, but those become very high percentage offensive opportunities. Joseph Forte, he's got to be careful that he doesn't get impatient and try to carry everything on his own back. He's got 8 points in the game and 8 rebounds.
Duke has come up empty the last 2 trips. Here's Williams with the penetration. And he gets the shooter's roll.
And that's a good play by Williams. That zone kept him out on the perimeter twice, but that time he penetrated, pulled up for the short shot, and there Williams is going to pick up the foul.
Jason Williams immediately says, he hooked me. Boy, these two teams are battling.
Now, see, it's really, we've got a problem here if you're Matt Doherty, and that is you find your team way down in the game. They were down by more than 20. It's 19 now. What you have to do is try to keep your kids focused and make them understand there are plenty of minutes left in this game. You do not need to change your style. All you've got to do is play better defense and be tougher on the offensive end.
Brian Morrison makes them both. He matched his season high with 5 assists yesterday. 2 big free throws here.
That's not to say that getting yourself in a 21-point hole is something you ever want to do, but if you're going to do it, you may as well do it with lots of time left to go. Zone defense.
Williams will try to penetrate it if he can. Here he is. Pulls up for the 2. Capel just struggling with his shot. This foul will be on Will Johnson.
Part of the problem is North Carolina really is shooting the ball, even in the half-court situation, maybe just a little too quickly. You'd like to move the ball from side to side because that forces the defense to move. If you just make one pass and shoot, the defense hasn't moved around. They're still in good rebounding position.
34, Dunleavy.
Budweiser scoreboard. Here's an update on that SEC game. Texas, Oklahoma coming up later, as will Iowa and Indiana. Big day in college basketball. The selection show coming up later today. ACC expecting to get 6 teams in.
Well, now, I'll tell you what, one of the things we were talking about for North Carolina is the potential for a #1 seed. I think if they are destroyed in this game, if they get blown out in the game, they may lose that #1 seed.
Without a doubt, I agree with you 100%. But the winner of this game most assuredly will have the #1 in the East. Morrison beyond the arc. That's a big bucket.
It's a nice job. Draw the defense to kick it out.
Cuts that lead to 15.
Well, they've taken about 3 minutes and they've chopped 6 points off the lead. If you chop 6 points off the lead every 3 minutes, you're going to win the game. Since you're only down 15 now, and they got more, and 18 minutes left to go.
Battier to Williams, beyond the arc. That'll stop any run by anybody.
Williams' first three-pointer of the game. He's now 1 for 5. He's got 13 points. He's already taken 17 shots in the game.
To Haywood, turnaround jump hook. Nobody underneath. Duke starting to dominate the boards.
That's exactly what I was talking about, Tim. He shot a little bit too quickly. Moved the ball from side to side, in and out. Forced those defenders to move out of their initial starting defensive position.
Under a minute to play in the half. Williams again. Now
That's
Duke
a
does
great
with
play
time.
by Williams. Pitching it out.
Carolina right now looks like they've got cement shoes on. They can't move very quickly.
Battier telling Williams to take it back. There's about a 10-second difference between the shot clock and the game clock, as you can see there.
25 on the game clock, 15 on the shot clock. Down to 7 on the shot clock. Duhan takes it in the paint, has the shot blocked, but there's Dunleavy. 7 seconds to Forte. He misses the layup. Duke by 20. Wow. Duke 50, North Carolina 30.
The interesting thing about this, watch North Carolina, all the white shirts move away from the basketball, the black shirts move to the rim, and therefore Dunleavy is able to get the ball and tip it in.
Matt Doherty has to make some adjustments. 20 minutes left in the championship game of the ACC. Duke is looking to be just the 3rd team in ACC history, the first in 32 years to win 3 straight ACC Tournament Championships. Dan, take a look at the Buick Keys to the second half.
Well, if you're Mike Krzyzewski, real simple halftime talk. Don't let up, guys. Keep doing what you're doing. And for North Carolina, that may seem funny, but I think patience is going to be a big key for the Tar Heels. 20 minutes in the second half, divide that up into 5 4-minute segments. All they got to do is cut the lead down by 4 points each segment.
Let's go over to Gil McGregor.
Coach Doherty said you can't turn the ball over and win a ball game, and you got to chase down these long rebounds because Duke has a lot of offensive boards. For Duke, they said the first 4 minutes of this half is key for them. They can't let up, and they got to get it done in the first 4.
First 4, as Dan just mentioned, trying to break it down in 4-minute segments. So Carolina needs to shave some points and add some points. And, of course, Duke needs to keep the pressure on. Down by 20. Here comes Carolina.
North Carolina back with the lineup that started the game, and they go immediately inside to Haywood. Now, doesn't get anything there, but I think that that's a good place for them to go.
Williams had a foot on the line. That was for 2 if it would go.
Those are the long rebounds Mike Krzyzewski's talking about. North Carolina just not doing a very good job on the offensive board, or the defensive boards. That's now 13 offensive rebounds for Duke, and Dunleavy now has 14 points.
Duke looking for a good, hard first 4 minutes of this half, and they started off with a 2 for Dunleavy. Here's Forte. They've been all over Forte, and the foul is on Jason Williams. They banged heads. Both are shaken up.
Well, now, of course, when you bang heads like that, you certainly don't want the foul to be called on you, so you try to look more injured than the other guy, and Joseph Forte won the injured-looking contest right there. 2 fouls on Jason Williams. Now, Jason Williams, one of the most interesting stats in the first half. Jason Williams was 6 for 18 shooting the ball. I've never done a game I saw a guy shoot the ball 18 times in one half. The record for an ACC tournament, by the way, for shot attempts in a game is 44. That was by Buzzy Wilkinson of Virginia way back in 1954.
Forte is having a tough time with his shot in this tournament. Draws iron, and here come the Blue Devils. No look pass to Sanders, kick it out to Dunleavy. Good stop by Forte.
Now, North Carolina cannot hang their heads with the ball not going in the basket. They've got to figure out a way to scratch and claw and get some offensive rebounds. Now they go back to that zone.
Here's Battier. He'll take it to the hoop with the left hand. He's fouled. So Battier will go to the line to try to convert the 3.
Now this is a big-time shot by Shane Battier. He's taking the ball right at Brendan Haywood. Pass the ball in the middle, no help, he just spins quickly. He holds that ball out almost at a 90-degree angle, using his body to protect it from Haywood. Haywood trying to reach in, commits the foul. That is an unbelievable shot by Battier. He's got 17.
Make it 18. 55-30 in the championship game of the Atlantic Coast Conference. Wow. Lang. Haywood's fouled by Duhan.
Now, Tim, I'll say it again, and I don't want to belabor the point here, but one of the things that you have to do if you're North Carolina, you don't necessarily want to take the first shot that's there. Duke sets up in defense, and nobody sets up in defense in bad rebounding position. So unless you move the defenders around, when you shoot the ball, the defense is still going to be in good rebounding position. You've got to move the ball around, and when you shoot it, that gives your teammates a chance to get some offensive rebounds. If you're just going to take the first shot that's there, you're never going to get any offensive rebounds.
Yesterday's 2 semifinal games came right down to the wire. Both spectacular games, and here in the championship game, Duke is running away with it.
And I'll tell you what, everybody talking about North Carolina and Duke both gaining #1 seeds in the NCAA tournament as we look at the turnover numbers. But I'll tell you what, North Carolina, if they get blown out of this game, they could very well lose that #1 seed.
Kick out to Dunleavy, left alone beyond the arc. Forte with a rebound, and he's fouled by Sanders.
Sanders immediately looks over at Mike Krzyzewski. Sanders knows the more fouls he gets, the odds of him coming out of the game. And he's coming out of the game now. And that's one where Sanders, he just ran into Forte, 3 fouls.
So he goes out. Reggie Love will check in.
Sanders wants to get his fouls hammering Brendan Haywood, not accidentally bumping into Joseph Forte.
They may have Boozer back for the tournament if you listen to the Duke folks.
I think they may not want him back. The way they're playing.
Oh, I wouldn't go there.
No, I mean, we're not.
A lot of football players in this game, as we mentioned before, as Reggie Love checks in. Oh, nice look, and the pass to Lang, but he can't convert. Brendan Haywood's got to take it up strong. He does.
Move the ball a couple of times. The defense has to go and contest Lang, and nobody left to block out Haywood. Maybe that's the start of the road back for the Tar Heels. Remember, they've got a lot of firepower. If they get it going, they can close the gap in this game.
Duke opened up that 14-point lead yesterday against Maryland. Maryland did close it in the second half, but this lead here has been extended by Duke. Taken away by Love. Dunleavy comes up with it. Nothing going right for Carolina.
North Carolina just has not been very tough with the basketball. They've turned it over a couple of times against the traps in situations where Duke just wrestled it away. Well, you don't expect Brendan Haywood to lose the ball like that.
Carolina gets it back. Quick hands by Capel. Here's Forte to Curry for the 2.
It always helps when you can score when the defense isn't really back and set. Staying in the zone.
Great look at Dunleavy.
What a catch, my heavens.
How about the pass?
Well, now the pass is fine, but somebody's got to catch it. That was a bullet. Wow. Williams finds him, but this is, he really whips that ball there. And Dunleavy, what a great job with Jason Capel all over him, catches the ball.
34, Mike.
How many times have you seen a guard make a pass like that and the ball just whistles right into the stands because the guy can't get his hands on it?
This broadcast is a copyrighted presentation, so any use of it without the express permission of Raycom, Jefferson Pilot Sports, and the ACC is prohibited. Rebound by Haywood. Haywood takes a long time getting down the floor. Here's Lang underneath.
Well, he may have hurt his ankle again.
The ankle just gave way. That's the other ankle. That's the good one.
He got pushed. And there's a foul on the inside.
It's just like it gave way and he crumbled to the floor.
Well, Love is really battling hard on the inside, and that's pretty good defense on the ball. It's tough to make a good inside pass when you're guarded that effectively. Love actually, they got tangled up.
2 more for Carolina. That'll help. Cuts the lead to 20.
Now we've completed our first 4-minute segment, and North Carolina has stayed even, Tim, and they need to cut in a little bit, not stay even.
Duke had extended it to 25. It's back to 20. We're under 16 minutes to play.
So the first 4 minutes, Duke maintains what they have. That's not bad when you're up 20.
Foul on Curry. 22. It's gone silent in the Georgia Dome. The Duke Blue Devils are just tearing it up against North Carolina today. It's a 20-point lead. Well, Duke has won 11 ACC Tournament Championships, including the past 2, and they're trying to make it 3 in a row here today. 56-36 is our score. Duke in complete control.
And the Blue Devils looking for a number of records, Tim. They have won 8 consecutive ACC tournament games. They're looking to tie the 67 through 69 North Carolina Tar Heels and the Wolfpack from early in the days of the ACC with 9 conference tournament wins.
This is the 10th time Carolina and Duke have met for the tournament title. Carolina winning 6. But Duke in control here.
So now you're in a situation where you've only got 4 of those 4-minute segments left. So you want to try to cut off 5 points of that lead. And there's no reason for Haywood to make that pass. He's got to take that ball up and dunk it.
The turnover cost him. Duhan brings it down, no hurry. Here's Battier beyond the arc. And gets his own rebound.
I think he's going to get a foul. Well, the foul's actually going to be called against Jason Capel. Now, Brendan Haywood is a guy inside where you figure that North Carolina ought to have an advantage. Look where he sets up in the lane. He's all the way under the basket, goes around. Now that's a dunk, and instead he throws it to Haywood, nearly takes it, or to Lang, nearly takes his head off. Most startled guy on the court was Chris Lang.
Battier with the rebound, keeps the ball alive for Duke.
Boy, another offensive rebound. Duke is just much quicker to the ball than the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Brendan Haywood looks way in the distance to check the time remaining at 15:06. They take it down right at him, and Shane Battier can't convert. Williams beyond the arc. Forte gets it back, and the offensive foul on Brendan Haywood. Illegal screen.
You know, sometimes you have those kind of days. And you certainly hope you don't have one of those days on a stage like this, but Matt Doherty's team really just can't get anything going.
You were talking about losing the possibility of having a #1 seed. Now you have to wonder if it stays like this, you can reverse the negative momentum and get them going for the tournament.
Tim, we're just not talking about one game. Remember, North Carolina lost 3 of 5 in terms of their last 5 regular season games. They lost 3 of them. And there's another offensive rebound. My goodness.
Carolina thought that ball hit the clock. It didn't. Here's Dunleavy for 3. Carolina has lost the last 3 Sundays. Here we are again on Sunday. Inside to Haywood, and he does dunk that one.
Not try to pass it to anybody that time. now North Carolina goes back to the man-to-man. Gonna try to get some turnovers here.
Nice pass to Sanders. And the foul by Haywood. You know, you say a 21-point lead with 13:56 to go is not insurmountable, but the way Carolina's playing, they just look so tired.
Well, they do not look like they have much energy out there. Jason Williams with that bounce pass through the legs. That's, boy, that's really.
Sanders on the line.
Some days you're the hammer, other days you're the nail, and North Carolina has been certainly pounded so far today.
Casey Sanders makes his first 6'11", 218-pound sophomore from Tampa, Florida. He gets better every time out. 7 points, 3 rebounds against Maryland yesterday. Mr. Basketball in the state of Florida.
Tim, I'll tell you what, you can learn to shoot in practice, you can learn to guard in practice, but the only way you can learn to play, where to be on the court, how to sense things on the court, the only way you can learn to play is to play. And Sanders finally getting some more minutes.
Joseph Forte looking frustrated.
And that's a tough shot by Max Owen. North Carolina still has time in the game. They don't need to take tough ones.
Sanders throws it away. How about the play by Williams? Oh, can you believe the hustle and the alertness of Williams? Watch this.
This is a team up 22 points, and Williams, there's no reason for him to get to that ball. The only reason Joseph Forte goes down is because Williams cuts his feet out front, and Williams willing to go down, sacrifice his body to get that ball. Joseph Forte was not.
Terrific hustle. Great play.
And again, that's up 22 points. I'm sure nobody would have criticized him if he took off and ran down the court trying to defend Joseph Forte, but he just goes after that one. Great hustle.
Brendan Haywood goes out of the ball game. Julius Peppers checks in. Battier shoots over him. Forte with a rebound. Just cannot buy a basket.
And cannot get an offensive rebound.
Here's Williams. Yes.
Oh boy. This has become a clinic right now.
You know, you look at this ball game, you think the title may have been won yesterday against Maryland. Here's Morris. Oh, he's in pain.
This is a real problem for the Duke Blue Devils right now. Jason Williams down hard.
Oh, and he just said it's serious. He is in pain.
You know, and that's how this game can turn around on you, Tim.
Everybody in the Georgia Dome watching intently. They've settled him down.
Hey, just take it easy. It's going to be fine. You've gone through this before. You can make it and do this thing again, okay? Take it easy. All right. Got yourself together? Okay, I don't want you to look and then you get on the job. Don't show me. Okay, all right? I got you. I've got you. I want you.
How about this? They settle him down, both the doctor and Mike Krzyzewski.
And let's take a look, see if we can see what happened. The ball was passed inside Jason Williams. Maybe just tripped, maybe stepped on Max Owen's foot. It's hard to tell right there.
Mike continues to talk with him, give him encouragement. And a standing ovation as Jason Williams leaves the floor.
Now 15 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals. And I mean, there's no question Duke can lose Carlos Boozer. They've shown how they can rally around and change the way they play a little bit to make up for that. But I guarantee you, they cannot lose Jason Williams.
Everybody is in concurrence there. Here's Forte. Joseph just shakes his head in disbelief. I don't think he's ever gone through a stretch like this in his entire life.
4 for 13.
But he really hasn't had that jump shot any of the 3 days.
No, and a lot of people talk about shooting in a dome. And it was very interesting. I talked to Jason Capel after their victory over Clemson, where Jason Capel was 6'6", and Jason Capel made the point. He said, you know, we play in a dome. We play in the Dean Dome. I like to shoot in a dome stadium. But certainly that hasn't been the case for Joseph Forte.
Here's Battier taking charge, telling them to get out, clear out. Here I come. Doesn't make the shot, but he'll go to the line.
Well, now on the plus side for the Duke Blue Devils, if you're going to lose Jason Williams in the ACC Championship game, it's much better to lose him when you've got a 24-point lead than, say, in a 2-point game.
Jason obviously in pain. Cannot put full pressure on that foot.
And I think it's not a foot injury, it's not a knee injury, it's an ankle injury. And it may be one of those where, you know how sometimes when you turn your ankle, you're in tremendous pain right when you do it, but it's not always necessarily a horrible injury just because there's a lot of pain.
Right, but there's no question it's an ankle injury, but they're telling him to put pressure on that foot. They wanted to see how much he could stand in the ankle as the doctor continues to work on it. That could be a huge loss for Duke as they enter this tournament. Battier makes it a 64-38 game. So right now with 12-10 left in the game, you have to say there's very little doubt how this will turn out. Capel's shot is blocked.
Well, that's actually Dave Engelhardt, the head trainer for Duke over there working on Jason Williams. North Carolina in the man-to-man.
Duhon pulls it out. And Duke throws it away, but great hustle by Battier to try to keep it alive.
There's a timeout on the floor.
Blue Devils giving it all. They're in complete control. But what's with Jason Williams? He's hurt. Duke leading big, 64-38, 11:41 to play in the ball game. The ACC Championship.
And coming out of the right-hand corner of your screen, Jason Williams going for the steal, just turns that ankle over. Tell he's in pain.
Oh, did he let out a huge scream?
Well, now I'll tell you what, Jason Williams knows how important his presence.
Putting his shoe back on.
He's got some sort of a brace over there that he's got on now. You just don't know what those trainers have in their bags over there.
Magic. Here's a whistle away from the ball. And it's going to be called on James. That's his first.
And you know, the life has sort of gone out of this building. It's totally quiet in here, and it wasn't that way just because Duke had the big lead. The Duke people were making a lot of noise, enjoying themselves, and now there's just an air of concern covering this entire building. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that.
Here's Curry's shot, won't go, and the follow by Capel is good. Well, now their thoughts have fast forwarded to the NCAA tournament because they feel this one's in the bag with 11:17 left and leading by 24. But you're right, all concern now is with Jason Williams.
Jason Williams walking off right at the moment. And Shane Battier with the charge.
There goes Jason Williams with the medical staff into the locker room. Obviously still in pain. Folks, we will get you an update on the injury as soon as we can.
Duke back in the man-to-man. North
64-40, Dan.
Still struggling shooting the ball. Well, I certainly didn't. This has just been a game where Duke has imposed its style of play on North Carolina as thoroughly as one team can do it to another team through the first 30 minutes of this game.
Two great programs and certainly a great rivalry. But last week and today, Duke has dominated.
And the amazing thing about this, Duke really hasn't shot the ball all that well. That's a shot clock violation. The ball
never touched the rim. go over to Gil McGregor.
Hey, guys, they didn't take him to the locker room, but Jason Williams is down in one of the corridors with the trainer, applying some pressure on his ankle to see how it's feeling, see if it's going to work. They may end up taking him to the locker room, but right now, they're just testing it to see how bad it is injured.
All right, Gil, well, we're looking at Boozer, who broke that bone in his foot against the University of Maryland. And now with Jason Williams injured, I mean, this becomes critical as you look ahead to the NCAA tournament, Dan.
Oh, it sure does, but if you're Mike Krzyzewski, you can't look ahead right now. You've got to get this game finished. Joseph Forte gets called for the pushing foul.
That's 3 on Forte.
But I'll tell you what, that is the concern of the Duke partisans here.
Without a doubt.
In the arena.
Without a doubt. A lot of the fans that we see across the Georgia Dome right now are figuring this game is in their back pocket with 10:05 to play and up 24. James trying to add to that. Here's Forte. Can Carolina give one more run? Try to close this gap. Capel for 3. Halfway down, comes back out. Haywood is fouled.
Second, 8 on the team.
Budweiser scoreboard. Let's get an update on Bud Light scoreboard. We'll get an update on some of the scores. Kentucky up by 20 over Ole Miss.
You have the lower seeded team running away in that one too, and those games about to get started.
Haywood makes the first. Jason Williams now has made his way back to the bench. But concerned medical staff not getting far from his side. Haywood trying to get into double figures, can't do it.
Well, one of the things you have to do if you're the guys out there playing for the Duke Blue Devils is you can't allow the situation with Jason Williams to distract you at all. You've got to go out there and keep playing.
Carolina turning it up defensively as we go under 2 minutes. 9.5 to play in the championship game.
Now, one of the problems is you try to get the traps and turn it up defensively, and if the offense handles the traps, it becomes very, very tiring for you as a defensive player.
James' shot is short. I say 2 minutes or 10. Under 10 to play. Haywood wants the ball. Here's Curry for 3.
Oh boy, Haywood and Battier getting wrapped up with one another. So it looked like a WWF move there.
James all alone beyond the arc, but now they want to melt the clock.
Well, you want to run some time off the clock, but you don't want to lose that aggressiveness that got you to your current 23-point lead.
Duhon all the way to the baseline, ball's loose, and here comes Forte. They bang into each other, Capel and Forte, and Forte is fouled.
Shane Battier is being asked to do an awful lot again defensively, and he's in the middle of the screen with Brendan Haywood. Oh, here you get another look at it. Battier pushing up against. Now, Battier's trying to block him out, but they've sort of got one another wrapped up. I think that Haywood may get 2 points for that if you're wrestling. However, you don't get anything for that if you're playing basketball. Battier does what he needs to do, and that is he keeps Haywood away from the rebound.
Part of that is frustration as Forte hits the first free throw. 8:35 to play. Let's go with Gil again.
Hey, guys, the trainer just went over to the head coaches, gave his estimation of the situation. Now he's over getting ice in the bag, so I think we're going to see ice on the ankle. I don't know if we're going to see Mr. Williams anymore today.
8:35 to play, 64-42 Duke.
Well, you know, with the kind of season Jason Williams has had, it's like he's had a big advantage over the other players, so maybe it would even things up if he had to play with a bag of ice on his ankle.
You're looking for trouble today. 21-point lead by Duke. Duhon pushes it up. Again, the Blue Devils not quick to shoot. Melt the clock, shorten the game as Carolina picks up its defensive intensity.
But it doesn't help you shorten the game if you don't score at the end of these possessions. And here's another turnover. So North Carolina, not a lot of time left. They're in a situation where they have to score almost every time, but they created a situation where they've cut the lead to 21.
And can take it under 20 with this possession.
And on the offense, Ronald Curry goes out of the game. Matt Doherty going with his better shooters. Oh, and there you get a foul on Johnson, setting an illegal screen.
The largest lead for Duke was 26. So the Tar Heels have not really been able to cut into that very much.
Well, North Carolina really has struggled, and there's, you know, in this second half, Duke has continued to stretch out the lead, even though they're only shooting 24%.
You know, it used to be said, not only when the ACC could put one in the tournament, but then when they opened it up to a 64-team field, they used to say the ACC beat each other up so much and then had this tournament when it was one of the very few tournaments in the country that they were tired when they got to the NCAAs. In recent years, obviously, with Duke and Carolina and the success that they've had in the NCAAs, they've gotten away from that. But you have to say today, and I know you say don't make too much of it, but both teams really do look tired. Duke, how about that explosion game they had in the first half?
That kind of ability. And I mean, they've shown that all year. The ability to get spurts is really the characteristic of not only a good team, but a great team. That you can hang with them for a little while. There's a traveling violation, and all of a sudden they explode. And you go through saying to yourself, wow, if we could have just avoided that 19-1 run, we'd have been okay. But they get that run, it seems, all the time.
The Blue Devil fans are starting to celebrate with 7:54 remaining. Back inside the Georgia Dome, it's all Duke, 66-43 in the ACC Championship game. ACC Tournament Finals played in Atlanta. Number 2 seed has not won. And that's what Duke is today, so this will be a first.
And as you say, Tim, that is about to change. The other thing, all the other games, as you can see there very clearly, hotly contested affairs, 3 points to margin in each of them. And I'll tell you what, we're going to have a heck of a comeback here by North Carolina if we get to 3 points. And speaking of numbers, what game Mike Dunleavy's had.
Yeah, most of those points, Dan, came in that spurt when they broke this game open. Let's go over to Gil McGregor again.
Had a chance to talk with the trainer, and the trainer tells me it's a bad sprain, but that's all it is. It's a sprain. Nothing more, nothing less. He won't play anymore today, but they're not too worried about having him later on in the NCAA.
All right, Gil, thanks. 7:44 to play, 66-43 Duke. Boy, Carolina's got to hope they don't play on Sunday again this year. They have lost the last 3 Sundays. This will be 4. A month of Sundays. Here's Dunleavy way beyond the arc.
And there's another offensive rebound. Duke on the offensive boards has really been dominant today. 20 offensive rebounds. That's incredible. And you figure North Carolina's the bigger team, they ought to have the advantage, but Duke has just out-scrapped them and out-hustled them all afternoon long.
Here's a whistle, and this is going to be called on who? Morrison? Haywood. And that's 4 on Brendan.
Well, it's a very frustrating situation for North Carolina right now. You're in a position where Duke is going to spread the court. You have to simply chase them. There's nothing worse than being way down and chasing people around out on the basketball.
I've got to be honest, Dan. I mean, Haywood had 13 points yesterday, caused all kinds of problems for Alvin Jones. Coming into this ball game without Boozer, I really thought Haywood would have his way inside.
Tim, I tell you what, that is something that we all anticipated, that he would have a good game with Carlos Boozer sitting on the bench in street clothes. But when Duke creates the kind of a tempo where they're stealing the ball and running down the court, they're getting into the offense and scoring baskets before Haywood can set himself up to be a defensive factor. And then, as the tempo and pace of the game continues, North Carolina never really settles into the kind of a game where Haywood can be a factor on the offensive end. You know, Haywood is not a three-point jump shooter. He's a guy who dunks and layups and little short hooks down on the block. So when you're playing an up-and-down tempo perimeter game, he's not really much of a factor.
Under 7 minutes to play. Duke trying to three-peat in the ACC Championship game. Another turnover. And that's been the story of the afternoon. 19 turnovers for North Carolina.
You're not going to win very many games when you turn the ball over 19 times and give up 20 offensive rebounds to the opposition. And Duke, as we say, Duke has not shot the ball well today. But nonetheless, those numbers, yesterday we talked about them as hustle stats. Those numbers with the turnovers and steals and offensive rebounds, that's just hard to make up for North Carolina. Duke Now shooting 36%.
Mike Krzyzewski told him to spread the floor. They've done that. They've melted this shot clock down to 5. And they finally turn it over.
But in this situation, Tim, with a 23-point lead, 6:15 left on the clock,
unquestionable.
Doesn't really matter if you turn it over. You've run 30 seconds off the clock, and that's the key. Joseph Forte, 14 points, but he's got those 5 turnovers, and he has really struggled shooting the ball today. And in fact, as you correctly mentioned, the entire 3 days.
Just cannot find the range. It's almost as if the bucket has a lid on it.
Remember yesterday in that semifinal game against Georgia Tech, North Carolina went through a situation where it wasn't them, it was Georgia Tech who went like 14 minutes without scoring a basket. They couldn't get it to go, and now situation reversed. The Tar Heels find themselves in that position today. The ball's just not going in the goal.
Carolina fans still chanting, still hoping, looking for a miracle.
And again, Duke, before they took that shot, they had run 30 seconds off the clock.
Morrison.
And that's a great play because North Carolina still can't make a basket. So every time Duke holds it for 30 seconds, that puts them that much closer to the ultimate goal, which is to raise that tournament.
Countless times Carolina is one and done.
Well, we talked about coming into the second half when North Carolina was in a position where they could be patient and work the ball inside. Well, that's gone now. North Carolina's got to shoot the ball the first chance they get.
Dunleavy adds to the lead.
And when you're doing that, when you're shooting the ball immediately, you're just not going to be in a position for many offensive rebounds.
25-point lead for Duke in the ACC Championship game. Morrison for 2. Can't get it to go down. Ahead they go to Dunleavy for the easy snowbird. Wow, has this been a domination today? And now Mike Krzyzewski showing a lot of emotion. And the fans of Duke are on their feet. 4:26 to play. We'll return after this message from the ACC. Let us add our kudos to John Swofford, the commissioner, and his staff and the entire Atlantic Coast Conference for what they've done, and the folks here at the Georgia Dome as well. Look at this.
Well, this is amazing. Everybody wondered how this would be received in a domed stadium, and certainly you have to say that's a success. 40,083 the attendance today, and we got to hand out some kudos here as we look at Jason Williams on the bench to Fred Barakat of the ACC office. He's the guy who has organized this tournament. He's the tournament director, and he and his staff have done an absolutely fabulous job.
Mike Krzyzewski said yesterday in the press conference after the terrific Maryland-Duke semifinal game, he said it really is a Final Four atmosphere in here, and I think he's right. People walk into the game, all the hotels right around the arena.
And that's not an accident. They've got banners, and I mean, they really have this place set up so that it gives you that Final Four appearance. And of course, Duke under Mike Krzyzewski is very familiar with what a Final Four looks like, so he's probably the expert to comment on that. But again, you really have to give some credit to Fred Barakat, the tournament director, and all the people from the ACC office in the Georgia Dome who really have done a fabulous job.
Duke has appeared in 12 Final Fours, the 4th highest total in the NCAA. They've won 2 national championships, and they're going to win their 3rd straight Atlantic Coast Conference tournament here this afternoon. Finally, Max Owens makes a bucket for 3. Again, Duhan will bring it out, and he's fouled right away.
I think they actually fouled Reggie Love, and that's who they were trying to foul.
If they did, they got a break.
Well, then 42, Chris Lang, his 3rd.
And it is Love who will go to the line. Love has only taken 12 free throws all year. He's 8 for 12.
He's missed 2 today.
And he makes that one. 71-46. Can you believe it?
Not really, no.
I don't think the 40,000 here can believe it. Even the Duke fans are shocked by how dominant Duke has been.
Ladies and gentlemen, we remind you
Under 4 minutes to play in the 48th annual ACC Championship game. Get out the banners. Here comes Duke. Duke well in control of this game over North Carolina, 72-46, 3:55 left in the ball game.
Tim, of course, everybody at this time of the year concerned about NCAA bids. A lot of folks going to be grouped around their television sets at 6 o'clock tonight to watch the NCAA tournament brackets revealed. The ACC really thinks that they got a great shot at getting 6 teams in the NCAA tournament. We may have heard John Swofford. We were able to talk to him before the game, say that he would be very surprised and very disappointed if the ACC didn't receive 6 bids after having received only 3 in each of the last 2 years.
Duke well in control. While we're talking about the NCAA, Duke has had the most Final Four appearances by any program since 1986. 8 Final Four appearances since '86, but right now with Boozer out, they hope to get him back. Jason Williams with his badly sprained ankle. Their future now depends on the medical staff.
You're absolutely right. And here's Jason Williams with the ice on his ankle. Carlos Boozer. Now Owens hit the last North Carolina basket, Tim, and that was the first North Carolina field goal in over 7 minutes. But Dunleavy, he hadn't had that problem. He's had an outstanding game, 24 points.
He sure has. 3:11 to play, 74-46 Duke. Owens adds 2 more for Carolina.
And Owens is the only guy who scored for North Carolina in the last 9 minutes.
Again, they'll spread the floor and melt the clock.
The further you spread the floor in this situation, the more difficult it is for the team to come and get effective traps.
Foul called on Lang.
Number 42, Chris Lang, that's his 4th.
Brendan Haywood on the bench. Chris Lang started the game very well today.
I think Carolina players have to be as surprised as anyone. They really didn't expect this today.
And the problem, if you're Matt Doherty, the players are going to start to question themselves. This is the kind of a game that can affect your team's confidence, and Matt Doherty needs to have a confident team headed into the NCAA tournament. As we mentioned, they lost that game at Clemson to end the 18-game winning streak, and that started a stretch where they lost 3 of 5 games coming down the stretch. And then while they won the 2 games here, and looked pretty impressive doing it. They played really well against Clemson, and they withstood a Georgia Tech rally.
Nate James goes out of the ball game. What a performance he had yesterday. He was the hero, had the winning tip at the buzzer to beat Maryland. He goes out today with 10 points, double figures. Nate James had been in a little bit of a slump. Mike Krzyzewski reminded him of that. Did not start him yesterday against Maryland, so it's great to see Nate playing well. You know, you were talking about Carolina's losses, and they have lost the last 3 Sundays, but it's the way they lost. Now, the game against Clemson was close, but you never thought they would lose to the bottom team in the league. Then they were blown out pretty much by Virginia and blown out by Duke and blown out here again today. So you have to say the way they're losing has to concern Matt Doherty.
Joseph Forte has struggled a little bit with his offense. He's not scoring with the high percentage and the consistency that he was earlier, and they've had a tough time getting other people to step up.
Reggie Love goes out of the ball game. He too had a terrific tournament. Gave Mike Krzyzewski some quality minutes.
Now, what a lift Love gave him in the quarterfinal game against North Carolina State. Just an outstanding performance.
Dunleavy was left alone for the shot, but that's not what they need right now. They need just to get out of here, get this game over with.
Well, again, they're just going to run the shot clock down and try to get a shot at the end of the clock. And in this situation, if you don't get a shot, it doesn't make much difference. You've got the huge lead. You're going to need to shoot the ball.
Shot clock down to 5. Battier will shoot for 3.
And Duke's still out there playing the tough D, preventing North Carolina from getting any easy opportunities.
Forte throws up an air ball, and there's the loudest thing we've heard all day. They start chanting air ball, air ball.
Well, certainly the loudest thing we've heard since Jason Williams went down.
When he went down, there was silence. just concerned by everybody, and I think there still is, and there should be. Shot clock down to 12, with the game clock down to 1:30.
And that's a good decision by Chris Duhon. You just want to take the ball and shoot it from the outside. You don't want to risk injury attacking the basket at this point in the game. Dunleavy there, taking that philosophy, the hard testing his range.
J.D. Simpson in the ball game for Duke. He's one of the co-captains, a fourth-year walk-on. Everybody getting some playing time here for the Blue Devils.
Boy, Capel, that's been his spot, that three-pointer from the top of the key. He's really knocked those home in this tournament.
1:04 left in the championship game from the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. The party has begun.
And Mike Krzyzewski got a timeout so he could get everybody on his bench in the game, get his key players out of there, and Matt Doherty doing the same thing.
Matt Doherty's going to take his starters out, put the substitutes in. A white flag has been raised.
Well, we've been talking before, Tim, about NCAA tournament bids, and the ACC has had a great history of success in the NCAA tournament. While a lot of that success has been built around Duke and North Carolina, two outstanding programs, the ACC. One time, the conference had 7 bids to the tournament. 6, which is what everybody thinks they may get this year, is a very frequent occurrence for the ACC. 8 times since the tournament went to the field of 64. This year, actually 65, although the number of at-large, of course, has stayed at 34.
Last couple of years, only those 2 teams, and people say that down years for the Atlantic Coast Conference. But keep in mind all the players that left early for the NBA. Under a minute to play.
One of the reasons why the conference has had such a solid season all year long is the fact that teams have many veteran players. And you just go right up and down the list of those 6 teams that are probably going to be invited to the NCAA tournament. Veteran players have been the key guys. And you see Jason Williams over there on the bench. And he's now got the ice off and he's got his shoe back on. And this is a guy, even though he's only a second-year player, he is a veteran player. He didn't go anywhere. He completed an outstanding first season. And then in his second season, he's able to lend a great deal of leadership to that Duke program.
You know, I was always told when you have an ankle sprain like that, the first reaction would be to get off of it, get ice on it, and start healing it. But a lot of people say to stand on it like that, keep the blood circulating in it, helps it heal rapidly.
And of course, Jason Williams wants to be part of this championship celebration, which Duke is about to undertake here in 40 seconds. He's going to do it gingerly, you better be sure, but nonetheless, he wants to be part of it. Certainly been a big factor in Duke earning.
Well, Duke was down 45-42 yesterday at the half. Went on a 19-2 run after the intermission. Even though Maryland outscored Duke 30-17 down the stretch to set up a classic finish, it was Nate James' tip that won the semifinal game for the Blue Devils. They advanced in here today and just beat up on the Tar Heels of North Carolina. The last 20 seconds of the 48th annual Atlantic Coast Conference Championship game from the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. Folks, it's all Blue Devils who will now go on to the NCAA's most assuredly as the #1 seed in the East. So Duke wins it. 79-53. Duke wins the ACC title, and for just the 3rd time in ACC history, and the first in 32 years, the team wins 3 straight ACC tournament championships. NC State did it in 54, 55, and 56. North Carolina did it 67, 68, and 69. And now the Blue Devils of Duke have done it 3 straight. The Duke Blue Devils, the 2001 ACC champions.
And this is a very impressive margin of victory, the largest margin of victory that Duke has ever achieved in an ACC championship game, and it's actually the 2nd largest margin in the history of the ACC finals.
Terrific performance for the Duke Blue Devils over a dejected and extremely fatigued North Carolina Tar Heel team. Battier, 20 points, 13 rebounds. Dunleavy, spectacular game. 24 points. That's his career high. He also had 13 rebounds. And Jason Williams, before the injury, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 steals. Mike Krzyzewski with another championship. 10-time National Coach of the Year, has won it again. Duke 79, North Carolina 53. Back with the celebration.